On this week's episode of My Next Move, I have a very different style story to bring to you today. I am also very excited to announce that this is our first female guest on the show, and her story are amazing. She's an ex-real estate agent in New York City who was very good at her job and highly successful, but something didn't feel right for her. Fast forward 3 years, she ended up becoming a mindset coach. Not only is she a mindset coach and has a dominant presence all over social media, she also hosts a podcast of her own. Not to mention, she's also into public speaking and is looking to get into group coaching. So, without further ado, let's welcome on the amazing story and inspirational Lauren Plante.
Thanks for having me, Scott. I'm excited to be here.
I'm really excited to have you. You're actually the first female guest I've had on the show. I've had like 20 conversations with all males, so you're the first female on the show.
Woohoo! I like the sound of that. Okay.
Yeah. So no pressure. So you're in the coaching space, and I feel like the coaching space is, if you say coaching, it's very very broad. So I would love to hear like what you focused on. I actually have done a little bit of research in the coaching space recently, and have connected with a couple, and it's an incredible space. Like, I feel like it is blowing up like crazy. So I'm very excited to hear your story and some experiences that you've had within the industry.
Definitely. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a mindset coach. I came from real estate, and it's funny that you're saying I'm the first girl on the show, because the brokerage that I joined when I was a real estate agent, I was the first girl in the brokerage. So it seems to be a pattern.
Yeah.
I'm breaking molds, so that's cool. So prior to real estate, I was in psych, behavioral health, and mental health, and all of that. Worked with kids with psychological disabilities, neurological disabilities, which really formed my deep interest in the brain and like human behavior.
Yeah.
Then I took that to real estate because I was like, all right, your girl needs to make a little bit more money. I work really well with people. This is going to be a platform for me to kind of like build off of, to then become what I didn't really know was going to be a higher purpose for me, which is the mindset coaching. So I like to say, like, coaching kind of found me. I didn't exactly find it, but it was like a really deep feeling. And it was like all of the puzzle pieces in my life put together brought me here. You know, I think a lot of people can relate depending on like how far along they are on their journey. I know you as a trader and like, you know, other people listening, but that's how it unfolded for me. It kind of found me, and I tried to, at all costs, I was like, let me avoid it because it's hard. I was like, I don't want to do it because it's weird too. Everybody's like, you're leaving real estate as a successful agent to become a coach. What even is a coach?
Yeah.
So for me, it was a space that I could come to and really serve in a mission-driven way and be successful doing it. And that's exactly what I've been doing. And it's been really not just fulfilling externally, but internally for myself as well.
Wow. So that's actually, you hit on a lot of questions that I've already had. It's like, how do you leave a space that you're successful in, and then you kind of go into a space that, like you said, is hard? Can you kind of touch on the hard aspect of that? Is that more so getting clients, building a personal brand, you know, whatever the area of emphasis that you want to focus on? What do you mean by the hard piece to that?
So, yeah, I mean, if you are really good at a job, like for me, when I became a real estate agent, I highly identified with being a successful real estate agent. I branded myself as such. I told everybody I was that. Most of the conversations I was having was revolved around real estate. So for me to leave that was actually like breaking away from like a big piece of my identity, especially because I was kind of a workaholic at the time, and I was like just super, super involved in it. So to be able to break past that was hard in and of itself. Letting go of something, I built a team. I just had a lot of security, but it just didn't feel right anymore. It just wasn't the way I wanted to serve any longer. But thankfully, you know, I purchased properties. I built that security for myself. I have some Airbnbs and some rental properties that made me feel more comfortable being able to take a transition. So for anybody who wants to take a transition, I do suggest that you feel comfortable, or you do things that makes you feel good. And I think that piece of it really helped me. And I don't know that I could have done it without it.
Okay.
So then I didn't go right into being a coach. I traveled for 5 months.
Wow.
Because I just didn't know who I was anymore. I broke that piece of the identity. I like went back and forth with it for so long. Like I don't want to be a real estate agent, but that's who I am. How do I let it go? So I traveled. And when I tell you I did like 8 hours alone hikes in the mountains of Hawaii, like no
Wow.
phone, no nothing.
Damn.
Yes. So
Completely
talk about
reset the mindset.
yes, resetting my mindset, but also losing myself, like losing my mind a little bit to refine my mind
Yeah.
because I was like talking to the bugs out there. I was like, oh my gosh, like
You're alone?
oh,
You didn't have anybody there? It was just you?
it was just me.
Wow.
It was just me. I have family that lives over there, so that that helped. But I
Yeah.
went over there for a month, and I traveled there for a month. Went to California, then I came here and stuff. So I did that, and then when you know what's meant for you, and you know it's going to be difficult because it's going to really make you face all of the challenges that you've always had.
Yeah.
Like me, like fear of exposure. I'm going to have to put myself on social media more.
Yeah.
Like also fear of capitalizing on my like inner skills and gifts and all the things I know I'm meant to do. Like difficult.
Yeah.
To be able to sit there and stand in your confidence and say I can do it, that was the difficult part. It's like
Yeah.
I knew that this is what I was meant to do. I knew it was my next step. Felt it. I felt it deeply, especially after I traveled for 5 months. To be able to merge into that, I knew what was on the other side of that success.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was like a fear of success. If I was successful, I'm going to have to expose myself more. I'm going to have to deal with those ugly comments in the comment section. I'm going to have to deal with criticism. All of those things that I think anybody, when they're getting ready to post that Instagram post, like all the narratives that go through their mind.
Yeah.
So for me, it was really, I was just facing all of that. And I was like, what's more important? All of those, that small amount of people that will criticize me or that will potentially, have something to say, or the large amount of people that I'm really meant to help and be there for through all the skills that I have and the experiences that I've had.
Yeah. So when did you make the transition? When was this? What year was this?
This was in 2020.
In 2020? That's crazy.
End of 2020. Yeah.
It's insane now because I feel like everyone, the fear of like posting yourself, posting what you want to talk about, the content out there, I feel like, I was scared the same way, it's like all my friends are going to make fun of me, other people are going to be like, what are you doing? Because when you first post, you get like 1, 2 likes, 3 likes, and it's like, what am I doing here? So it's that fear of success, but it's crazy because now I feel like everybody is posting content. You know what I mean? Like if in 2020 and 21, 2022, and it almost feels normal now, but right at the beginning of 2020, it didn't feel that way. I feel like before COVID, the launch of it all. So taking that big step back, was that 2019 you quit, or was it 2020, like right at the beginning?
2019 I quit, and then I did that traveling. Yeah. Actually, beginning of 2020 I quit, and then I did the traveling.
Wow. And would you say that trip really solidified it for you to go into the coaching? Because you said you weren't sure. It kind of just found you. So
yeah.
So what was that process? What was it like? Was it coaching always, or was it you found it in Hawaii? You're like, okay, this is what I really want to start talking about. I want to start gathering my own clients. What was that process, like the transition from Hawaii to starting?
Yeah. So I think it started popping up in my mind a little bit when I was quitting real estate because I had ran a team.
Okay.
And when I was running a team, while I trained the agents, I also was like coaching them. So we did a lot of like mindset type of coaching because that's a big part of sales. You can't get discouraged. You have to keep moving. You have to keep your confidence high in order to be a high performer, all those things. And I was like, wow, I really like this part. And I think I'm really good at it because my agents are performing really well.
Yeah.
And so that was my first little introduction. But it didn't fully land. So then I kind of started thinking about it, but I've been reading self-development books my whole life. So in a weird way, I've been like training for this career.
Yeah.
Like book after book and YouTube after YouTube. And then I started realizing like, wow, I'm really attracted to like listening to coaches on YouTube or on podcast. And so then I went on my trip and I was like, you know what, I'm going to do real estate training. And then when I started posting like YouTubes about like training and real estate and stuff like that, so the coaching thing still didn't come into play. But then I got back from my travels and I sat down in my bed every single night. I took out a journal and I was like, all right, Lauren, what do you want to do? Because I was considering going back to 9 to 5.
Okay.
And for anybody who's been an entrepreneur in commission, that's like death.
Death.
That's the worst thing you can do in life. It's like, I never want to do that.
It's crossed my mind a few times. I'm like, that's your lowest point as an entrepreneur.
It's your lowest point because it's like you're not honoring your personality. I know
Yeah.
myself as a person. I am autonomous. I am independent. Those are things I need. And so I would sit in my bed every single day and I was like, Lauren, what do you want to do for a career?
Mhm.
And I started writing, and every night I would write, and I would just write, and I would write, and I would write. And after a month, after I got back, I was in Rhode Island. I was like taking care of my properties for the summer.
Mhm.
And I went back to every page and all said the same thing.
Wow.
I want to help people become a better version of themselves through training, coaching, or whatever the case.
Mhm.
And I want to help them overcome mental blocks and mental barriers that are keeping them from getting to this place.
Yeah.
Over and over and over. And I just read page after page because you don't remember after you just write it, you write it, you write it.
Yeah.
So that's when it landed.
Hmm.
I was like, okay, stop looking for a 9 to 5 because it's not going to work.
Yeah.
It's not going to work. So that was it. It landed, and I was like, I'm going to be a coach.
Yeah. And how do you start that? How do you like? What do you use? It social media? Do you start there, or like do you start a brand? Like, what is? It's like I'm gonna be a coach, but where do I go? You know, like what's that beginning process like, or what was it like for you?
Mm-hmm. So I didn't merge into mindset coaching yet. I was trying to find myself within the space. So I think that was my next step. Like, okay, now I know I'm going to become a coach. Stop the 9 to 5 search. We're wasting time at this point. Go to the YouTube and start posting YouTubes consistently and just speak on whatever you feel you want to speak on, which was my journey because I didn't feel I could teach anybody anything that I didn't go through myself. So I was like, let me tell them about it, what I've learned. So I've got like 1,700 subscribers at this point now. And it's like, it's a YouTube channel. And I spoke a lot about real estate, but more so how I grew as a person through real estate.
Mhm.
So more so like how I used real estate as a career. As a vehicle
Mhm.
to develop interpersonally. And I started putting action point, like how you can take action to work with me.
Mhm.
What's that called? An action
Call to action.
something. Call to action. Exactly. That's what I was looking for. So I started saying, book a free discovery call with me.
Mhm.
And people started booking it. And I was like, oh my gosh.
I have something.
I was like, people want to work with me.
Yeah.
And people started like watching the videos. It was like 1,000 views. And one of mine got like 10,000 views. And I was like, okay,
Wow. That's a
I
lot.
got something here.
Mhm.
Yeah.
For
So it
YouTube
was
as
like,
well.
for YouTube, it was pretty good. It was pretty good. It was a pretty good niche. And, it was just, I'm thankful that I started sharing my story. I started sharing it in COVID. I just didn't know I'd end up adding to it and wanting to become a coach. So I just added to it. And then that's how I started. I started charging clients pretty low prices. At first, it was just one session at a time. Then I started with packages.
Mhm.
Then I was like, wait, okay, I'm making some money here.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to move to Florida and start my real business.
Yeah. From New York, right? You were in New York before?
I was in New York City as a real estate agent. Then I traveled, and then I was in Rhode Island for a few months before I drove over to Florida.
Got it. Just drove down. You're
My
like,
properties are in Rhode Island.
okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
So Florida's where it's crazy how social media does that to you, right? It's like kind of like you kind of unravel what the potential is. You know what I mean? So, when I first started my business, you attach subscription. At first it's free, then you attach a subscription. You're like, holy shit! Like this is I can make money doing something that I actually like doing. It's pretty crazy. And then the learning phase as it goes, it's like you can't even really describe it in a short amount of way. You pop off on YouTube, get 1,000, 10,000, and then next thing you know, you're like rolling out packages, and then next thing you know, you're rolling out other pieces of business, and you're kind of refining it as you go. It's pretty crazy, and it's also very interesting because I know how mentally bearing it can be to be an entrepreneur, but that's also your space, so you can really handle the internal dialogue or the mental capacity it takes to be an entrepreneur because you know what I mean? Like for me, I struggle because I don't know those mental aspects of it. But for you, I can feel like are you able to talk yourself out of certain situations, especially when times get tough?
Right. Yeah. People ask me that a lot, and I am able to do that, but because I have the tools and the skills, but I have my own coach because to be honest, like, I'm a human too.
Yeah.
And while I'm really able to like take myself out of a situation and view somebody else's life and really help them, overcome these mental blocks that they have in order to be successful, like I need that too.
Yeah, of
Like
course.
I can't see myself like I can see other people. It's like almost when you hold your hand up to your face and it's like you can see your eyes are blocked, but you start pulling it away and you pull it away and you're like, oh, there's like fingers attached to that palm and there's like fingernails and there's lines in that hand. You can't see the details when you're so close to something.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I think it's important anybody has somebody to help them see themselves.
For sure.
But the skills I've gained as a mindset coach have really helped me become the best version of myself, really. Like,
Yeah.
I'm really grateful I have them, but I still need a coach for myself too.
Yeah, that's incredible. So walk us through like what it's like to be a coach. Like what is the process like? Who are the people you like to work with? Who are the people that reach out to you? Is there like a certain space or a niche that you work on, or is it kind of all aspects?
Yeah. So now I specifically work on mindset coaching with people who want to achieve not just success, but also fulfillment.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm big on people being happy doing what they love to do, like, and being able to make money doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my big niche. People are always coming to me like, I don't know what I want. I want a little more meaning. I want a little more passion. And you put the two and two together, and that's where you find the most successful people because it's
Yeah.
like you can have money. I had money in real estate. I
Mm-hmm.
realized that that really wasn't the full picture. I
Yeah.
wanted to be happy too. So you see these millionaires, and they're not very happy all the time.
Yeah.
And you want to add that other piece to it
Mm-hmm.
because really that's what keeps you getting up every day. Like you don't want to have to drink 7 cups of coffee in order to be able to do your day to day.
Yeah.
You want to know that you're serving a purpose, you enjoy what you're doing, you're growing interpersonally, and you're helping serve others at the same time. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's what feeds somebody's soul, but also transmits into motivation, confidence, and all the things that you need
Mm-hmm.
for sustainability ultimately.
Yeah. Interesting. So you also do like you have a big podcast. You have like 70 some episodes, which is crazy. Um,
Mhm.
so you have a podcast. You have I saw you were speaking at some meetings. You were just in New York speaking as well not too long ago. So is your day to day not just coaching? You also have a lot of things you're working on. It seems like.
Yeah. So I'll only take about 5 to 8 one-on-one clients at a time,
Okay.
just because I really go deep with my clients, and
Hmm.
I would hope that they'd commit to X amount of time, and it takes up a fair amount of mental space, and I want to be able to be present for it.
Yeah.
And then otherwise, yes, I host events,
Mm.
getting people together. I do group coaching as well, and I'm looking to merge into more of that. And yes, I just started public speaking, which has been
Yeah.
the scariest thing thus far
Yeah.
in my whole life, but it was amazing. It was
Hmm.
amazing. And even tonight I'm lecturing on somebody else's like group.
Hmm.
So I will serve wherever I feel is right for me, but I also make sure I'm growing at the same time. But my podcast, yeah, where success meets fulfillment, that's probably the best place to find my newest content.
Yeah. Is that
Mhm.
is that more so like a for me, like the podcast is like the passion project kind of thing, just meeting and networking. Is that like another almost like a sales funnel, or is that something where you feel like you can unpack a lot more topics because it's not tailored to single clients? It's almost anybody that can connect with you.
Yeah, that's a place definitely where I can speak more. Like
Hmm.
one of my modes of like being able to share in this world is definitely through communication.
Yeah.
And so just getting on the podcast and being able to have guests on and also like speak on my journey and help other people in like long form content,
Hmm.
that's more my space. But otherwise, YouTube, I've got a marketer now. He posts on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, like my short form content, which is
Uh-huh.
just short little blips on increasing your mindset and confidence and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you if you have a presence on TikTok or Instagram because I know in 2020 and 2021, TikTok was pushing people to, millions of followers. It feels like in those early stages. Were you able to be on that platform early on in 2020?
No, I wasn't. I was using it more of a as a playground, so I wasn't really consistent with like my content or anything like that on TikTok. I
Hmm.
wish I did,
Yeah,
but now I'm more consistent, and I get more clients from TikTok than I do Instagram.
really. That's so
Yeah,
interesting. So
yeah,
like just like the marketing mindset, like how some of
mhm,
our clients, they're so different. Like we have a jewelry business and they only do well on Pinterest, or we have like a therapy company that really does well on Google Ads. So
yeah.
it's so interesting. Like different spaces have a different audience, even though if they're the same hashtags targeting the same type of people. I don't know. It's just so it's
Mhm.
really interesting to me how people interact with things that could ultimately help them or what they want to spend their time doing. It's pretty crazy. It's really crazy.
I, I feel like TikTok has a very big mental health community, and I
They
think
do.
mindset falls into that. I would assume that's why.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting. That is so crazy to me. But so was there when you first started out? Was there any like barriers to entry? Like I said, I feel like there's a lot of coaches in a lot of different spaces. Like, was there any hardships that you faced while building it out? Were you like posting a lot and you're like, oh, I'm not getting the engagement I'd like, or was it instant success or like instant engagement? What was it like for you when you first started out?
Yeah, a lot of self doubt on my end, and it was crazy coming from the mindset perspective too. Like the second I started believe that it was possible was the second it started happening.
Hmm. Okay.
Like that's it. The second I actually believed it was possible was exactly when it started happening. When I stopped applying to those 9 to 5s, I got my first client. He paid
Wow.
$150 to do an hour with me, and I thought that was a lot of money at the moment.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay,
Yeah.
okay, I can do this. And then I had my second client who bought a package for X amount, and I was like, all right, I'm doing this.
Wow.
And so it happened instantaneously for me, but only because I got out of my own way.
Hmm.
And I don't believe that anybody is going to gain success until they like kind of open even the mental and energetic portals to it.
Yeah.
And that might be a little difficult for some people to fathom if they're very logical or structural, but
Hmm.
really that is mindset, like what you believe to be possible for yourself.
Yeah.
So it, I can say it happened like pretty instantaneously, but I did build the platform of YouTube for years.
Hmm.
It was like a year and a half or 2 years I had content on there. It was just the second that I started putting that call to action.
Yeah. The call to
Mm.
action. The website. You have a website as well, correct?
I have a website as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the big call to action piece. I feel like
Mm.
I don't know. So how is the strategy package? Is it more so like a course, or is it literally one-on-one calls where you can talk about like? It kind of sounds like almost like a therapy session in a way, like from where you started, almost coming full circle. Is it like a one-on-one exactly, or is it like tools or processes that you put in place that you can give them, like almost like a material aspect of it?
Yeah. So I'll tell you the process. Typically, somebody will find me via my website or social media or referral or from my
Hmm.
group coaching. And they'll come in and they'll typically already know they have something they want to work on because I
Hmm.
always talk about success blocks and mindset blocks. And
Hmm.
so they start already using that vernacular and come to me and say, like, okay, I have this block or that block. And I can tell you a girl that came to me recently, and she really didn't know what she wanted, which is a perfect client for me.
Hmm.
Don't know what they want, don't know who they are, but they know something doesn't feel right. Okay. She came in on a discovery call. I took the call, and she was doing real estate, but she also had a full time job. And then she had like 3 other side gigs.
Yeah.
And that's, the definition of confusion. And it's okay to
Hmm.
explore, but she was like, I just don't feel like I'm doing anything that's in alignment with me. I don't even feel good doing what I do.
Yeah.
So we talked about it, and pretty much what came of the call was that she was trying to please everybody outside of herself.
Hmm.
She's like, well, somebody said, do this, do real estate. Somebody else said, do this. And somebody else said, do that.
Yeah.
I compared myself to this person on social media. They're making so much money there. So I asked her, what do you want? And she's like, I don't know. So I was like, all right, that's the winning question, because once you find what you want, you will be successful at it because you'll want to do it.
Hmm.
And so we started sessions after that. And long story short, it turns out she wants to be an entrepreneur.
Okay.
The values and everything that deeply run within her is like, that's what she really wants. She wants to run her own business. She wants to have more autonomy. So
Hmm.
her next step, depending on where she was at, was to get into a job that was a smaller business that
Hmm.
gave her more like duties and more tasks and more ability to be able to learn what it's like to grow a business. She's like, I have no idea how to do any of this. She got rid of the real estate because when I asked her about it, I was like, do you like it? She pretty much said no. I was like,
Yeah.
then you got to get rid of it.
Yeah.
And she ended up doing that. She landed a job paying 20,000 more than she was already making with all the jobs.
Hmm.
She honed in on that, and now she's learning how to become a business person just through that, just through
Yeah.
landing that. And she just didn't know how to take those steps. And
Hmm.
then she ended up just recently, she started a side business, and it's with jewelry, and she's making so much money doing
Just
it. I
crushing
guess she
it.
just like doubled her income.
That's
So it
awesome.
was pretty incredible, but she was just really living at a place of like people pleasing. Like
Yeah.
that's one of the blocks I work on. She was just pleasing what everybody else wanted to see from her.
Hmm.
And it was more deep rooted. Like she was trying to prove something. Her dad, like always hearing you were never good enough. We all
Yeah.
can relate. But those are the blocks, and that's where it comes from.
Yeah.
Past behavior patterns picked up from childhood, really.
Hmm. You kind of have to unpack that in order to let it go and to ultimately, like, I don't want to say be more successful, but just let something that added weight go, right? In order
Yeah,
to get out of your own way, like you said. You know what's
yeah.
what's interesting that you said was the her spreading herself too thin.
Hmm.
And do you think, I mean, social media is powerful, like super powerful in terms of, helping you boost your brand, boosting what you really wanted to do, because you can get yourself out there and, get connected with thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people. But do you think that modern day social media is almost telling everybody that they're not doing the right thing? You know what I mean? It's almost like somebody's doing, I get ads all the time or they're popping up. It's like, you can do real estate. You should be house hacking. You should be doing wholesale. You should be trading stocks. You should be doing options. You should be gambling. It's almost like every other video is like, I make $1 million in 4 days. It's like, you know what I mean? But then somebody else gets skewed towards that. It's like, oh, I should be making a million. So they'll explore gambling or they'll explore wholesale real estate or they'll explore, Fiverr.com. Like, you know what I mean? Like, do you feel like there's almost like an extra hurdle to get over where you can really find yourself or focus on what you want to do? Have you seen that trend?
Yeah, yeah, I've seen it a million times. I mean, who doesn't get caught comparing themselves to others or get caught in all of the potential opportunities,
Yeah.
especially speaking like money, money, money. And that's why I preach often, mission over money,
Hmm.
because the mission isn't more important for one, but for two, money always comes
Hmm.
when you're working hard at the thing that it is you want to do. It's
Yeah.
crazy the businesses people start. They start businesses with soap and they make millions of dollars, or they start businesses with like the littlest weird things, like
Yeah.
some like little egg pan, and they make millions of dollars off this egg pan. You can do whatever you want. I think
Yeah.
people get really stuck in the fact that like I've got to do it all, or I've got to do what the next best thing is in order to make money.
Yeah.
That's not true. And I think that's a really, really weak mindset to be in.
Hmm.
And for anybody listening too, like, I don't mean that you're weak. I just mean that you need to start standing in your strength. And I think everybody does. Start
Hmm.
being confident in the skills that you have and know what is called to you and what it is that you really want to do.
Yeah.
Because there are so many opportunities. There's so many options out there. And it can really confuse somebody, especially somebody who's not strong enough in their own self and their own confidence in who they are and what they want.
Yeah. So interesting. I feel like there's so much. I've noticed this over the last couple months, probably since like mid 2022, how much mindset plays a big factor in everything that you do. Like I was so clouded in building a brand and building a company and all this other stuff to leave the 9 to 5 for about a year and a half, 2 years, and then like 2 years in, once you like establish what you want to do and you're trying to scale and you have the infrastructure in place, it's like holy shit, I am exhausted. Like my mind is so clouded, and it's like
Yeah.
I've really kind of taken a step back, which is really interesting that you said that you traveled first,
Mhm.
because that's something that I told myself that I'm going to be doing a ton this year is like traveling, unpacking, and just going to like enjoy it. Like I'm building an infrastructure where it's kind of on autopilot right now. So I don't know. There's just something else there that's like cloudy. So I was like, I just need to go get like a reset. So I feel like it's interesting that you say that. And the mindset of everything is a huge factor that nobody ever touches on. So it's really great to be able to have a conversation on somebody that really understands that.
Yeah. And it could be something as small as like intentions. It could just be as small as like toxic motivators,
Yeah.
anything like guilt, shame, like anything like that can bring your vibration down and cause that cloudedness and
Yeah.
like just really impact your like clear mindedness. I just had
Hmm.
a client the other day. She's in a field and she loves her field, but she's like, why do I wake up every single day and I don't want to do it?
Yeah.
And it just ended up being toxic motivators. Like she's stuck in this like high pressure and then goes up really high and then goes into burnout and goes into this like up and down roller coaster,
Yeah.
which is no way to live. But if you're just so used to being motivated off of high pressure and you talk really mean to yourself, like do more, you're useless, this and that's what motivates you because that's what how you used to be pushed, whether it's in sports or when you were growing up.
Hmm.
It's negative now as an adult.
Yeah.
It's draining. And so we start to figure these things out as we get older. But
Mm.
it's not always I'm in the wrong field of business. It's sometimes how I'm doing my business,
Yeah.
how I'm managing my day to day.
Interesting.
If I even prioritize myself, do I make sure that I leave an hour in the morning with my phone down and give myself attention before I give the world attention?
Yeah.
That alone sends your brain a message like I'm important, gives me more energy. So I
Mm.
don't know that people realize how to fill up their energetic tank themselves.
Yeah. What would you say is like some advice that you would have for something like that? So, if, somebody's feeling burnout or they're tired or exhausted in whatever they do, what is something that you think would help them, kind of get that boost where they're like, okay, maybe I'm a little bit excited, or maybe you just need to rethink my mindset. Is it going for the walk in the morning? Is it waking up at 5 a.m. and working out before the end of the day? Is it, your diet? What is something that you see as the most success or the best turnaround, on a
Yeah.
day-to-day basis?
I'm going to go with this one. There's so many, but I'm going to go with clearing some space, like lower your stimulation.
Okay.
Watch television less. Put your phone down an hour before bed. Don't pick it up until you've woken up for an hour. Like, lower your amount of stimulation because it'll create some space in your mind.
Mm.
And then I think other things can start to flow from there.
Yeah.
Okay, like I want to eat healthier. Okay, like it's not so overwhelming. Like the brain gets so overwhelmed that it just plops on the floor and it's like,
Yeah.
now I don't know what else to do but go on autopilot.
Mm.
So lessen your stimulation and start doing something like putting your phone down an hour before bed,
Yeah.
having a little time with yourself. It's going to be the most uncomfortable hour of your life for the
Yeah.
first like month or so.
Yeah. What do you do instead?
Exactly. That's what
Yeah.
everybody thinks. And it's like they want to pick up something else, but you can start with something lower stimulation. Oh, I sleep with the TV. Well, okay, put on some meditation music instead.
Yeah.
Like take little baby steps or do a crossword if your brain really does need to be busy until like you start really lowering down.
Yeah.
But I can't tell you like how much the brain thrives off of just giving it a little more space to think for itself and to heal.
Yeah.
Mm.
Interesting. Because you're absorbing so much information or just so much content just by scrolling all the time. It's so, I don't know. It almost to me it feels like more. I was so focused on posting every single day, to build a brand
Mhm.
and everything, but I've gotten so exhausted from that where I've literally hired an editor and somebody to
Mhm.
post it. You just have so much more time, and then I try to stay away from social media. It's really crazy how it's like. I think it's because I consume myself so much in it for 2 years, and then
Mhm.
at some point you're like, okay, I'm burnt out. So maybe I just need to go put my phone down or go for a walk in the morning. That's probably the best step. But give me something so you've been doing this for 2 years, right? Two, three
Mhm.
years, 2.5 years,
Seriously.
3 years now. So I'm sure that there was like, did you face any hardships getting involved in the space? Is there like any downfalls of getting involved in coaching, or has it been a pretty smooth coast since you've been so passionate about it? Was there any hurdles that you faced along the way? Was it kind of learning the business? Was it getting new clients? Was it anything of that sort?
Yeah. I think the biggest piece was like knowing my worth in the
Mm.
space. Just knowing that like I've done all the work. Like
Mm.
I'm really, really good at my job, and I
Yeah.
can confidently say that. I
Mm.
think I'm really great at it. But just really knowing that, I think I second guessed myself a lot, and I found myself thinking about work all the time again.
Mm.
And I was like, wow, I'm gonna hit burnout again if I do that. That was one of my struggles in the beginning,
Yeah.
second guessing myself and not really standing in my confidence, which came with time. But another one I think that came with that confidence aspect is that I seeked crutches. You
Mm.
know, sometimes I would get myself involved in other people's businesses that asked me to get involved that
Yeah.
weren't in alignment,
Okay.
and they offered me money, and I was like, that's security.
Yeah.
When I didn't necessarily need it, but I added it and it took up space
Mm.
and took up space that wasn't in alignment for the work that I was doing. They wanted me to either speak on real estate, which would have been going backwards, not forwards for me, and things like that. So I fell victim to grabbing onto some crutches and some safeties, and I think the biggest thing was I just needed to be really, really confident.
Yeah.
And you're always gonna do that as you evolve and as you keep going. Like even with the as I went into public speaking, one of the newest and scariest things I ever did, like, you just learn, like you
Yeah.
can do it. The more things that you do, like every time you take a step forward, your brain literally receives the message. you did it. That was
Yeah.
safe. You can do it again and you can do more now.
Hmm.
So just keep moving forward, keep moving forward. And as much as I knew that as a mindset coach, like it would get hard for me at times.
Yeah.
So that was probably the biggest thing I struggled with is confidence and seeking some crutches there.
Isn't it crazy how it evolves? You know, you start with just a YouTube channel, and then now you're doing public speaking, podcasts. You just kind of learn as you go. And I feel like in the entrepreneur space or whatever you do, you know, it could be a side hustle, it could be what you do in your job. It's just you're never going to have all the answers when you first do it. You just kind of have to start, and you're going to learn as you go. Because if you don't start a business because you don't know what tax percentages you can write off, or
Mm-hmm.
what marketing strategy you're going to have before you get into it, you're never going to actually take that leap. You almost kind of have to just throw yourself in there. It's crazy how it
Mm-hmm.
just evolves over time. You learn all these processes, and you go, oh, I can go this path, or I can go this path. And next thing you know, you have multiple multiple platforms, whether it's public
Mm-hmm.
speaking or podcasting, or even just jumping on other podcasts, and then you're also doing your own brand and things that you offer as well. It's really interesting to me. And have you do you kind of feel the same way, where you kind of just have like evolved over time? Like, do you ever think you were going to start a podcast? You think public speaking, or was that a part of the roadmap?
No, I mean, I just like looking at my life, like I can seriously tell you, like I've never been happier in my life just
Yeah, that's
because
great.
I like took those steps and I did take that evolution for myself.
Hmm.
If I could tell you, I'm like looking at the water right now, the sun's setting here in Florida. It's beautiful
Yeah.
out. I mean, you're over in Tampa, you know.
Yeah.
And if I could ever tell you that I feel this way, like I'm happy in my career, I'm happy in my life, I'm in a place where I realize like life doesn't have to be endured, it can be created. Like
Yeah.
all of these things, I would have been like, you're crazy
Yeah.
years ago. You're crazy. That's not it. You get a 9 to 5, you do what you're supposed to do, you sit down, you shut up,
Yeah.
and you have kids and you have a house, and then your parents have grandkids, and you make everybody happy.
Hmm.
But it's like you get to create your own life. And when
Yeah.
I really started realizing that, I was like, wow. So, no, I didn't think it would unfold like this, but I'm really proud of myself every day. The next step I take, the next step I take, the next step I take, because now when I take more steps, I'm actually proud of myself. I pat myself on the back as if a
Hmm.
best friend would. And I say, good job.
Yeah.
You
You are
did a
your
good
best friend.
job. Yeah.
It's crazy to hear you say this, because everybody else I have conversations with, whether they're like, in the stock market or real estate, I don't think I've ever heard anybody tell me after all they've accomplished that I'm proud of myself. I don't think
Mm,
you're the first person to say that, which is really interesting. It's kind of like eye opening to the coaching world and what you're building and what you stand for, the values that you have. It's like, wait a second, you're really rewarding yourself because you've accomplished something great. So
mm,
it's funny to hear that other people that I have on the podcast, or people I've come in contact with that are really successful in their fields, I've never heard them say I'm proud of what I've created. It's more like, what's my next step, or how am I going to make more money next year, that kind of thing. So
mm.
it's kind of
Well,
eye opening.
it's almost like when you climb up the mountain, you stand at the top, you don't look at the view first before you
Yeah.
head back down and climb
Uh-huh.
another. It's like you got to sit there and say like, wow, I just climbed the shit out of this mountain and now I've
Yeah.
got this beautiful view. And like let yourself sit up there. You're not going to go back down and climb up the next mountain immediately. Like you
Yeah.
should enjoy it. And so every single like time I elevate, every single stair I step up on the staircase, it's just like you got to say, good job.
Yeah.
Because that's a big element to your happiness.
100%. It's really eye
Yeah.
opening. It's
Yeah.
it's insane. So, okay, so I asked what the biggest hurdles were. Give me something that's the most rewarding since you've started this. What was like the most rewarding feeling? Like, that is why I do it. Like, what that is why that's why I do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I genuinely help and assist and support in changing people's lives.
Mm,
The people who come to me, they do it themselves. You came to me, you asked for the support, like you're the one who's really doing it. But for me to be able to be along on somebody else's journey and to really watch them evolve into the person they want to become,
mm,
I tell you, for me, there is just not like I have goosebumps just talking, like saying it out loud. Like there is
yeah,
no better feeling than to see somebody unfold into the better version of themselves. And like we all have chapters, we all have phases. Like we're not going to jump from one place to the next immediately, but just to watch those little evolutions and somebody's mindset shift, and all of a sudden, like have a space to just cry it out if they want to cry it out or release it, and then have this like pinnacle moment in their mindset, like
Yeah.
I tell you, like there's a lot of pieces of my job that I love, but the evolution and the change and getting to witness that,
Hmm.
no better feeling in my life.
Yeah, that's incredible. So it's almost like constant, where you're feeling that fulfillment all the time because you're
Yeah.
always helping somebody get to a next step.
Yeah, it's empowering one another. Like, isn't that what we're on this earth to do? Like,
Hmm.
empower one another, support one another, root one another on. Like, how
Yeah.
good do you feel when you're like on the sidelines and your best friend's playing basketball and they make a shot and you're just like, yes.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. It's
that's
so
how I feel
interesting.
with my clients.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. You've cracked the code of life. It feels like you're always getting that
Mhm.
empowerment feeling, that fulfillment feeling. Because you're helping, right? You're like kind of unpacking. Maybe at first it's kind of like, oh, this is sad, or like this is I want to help you. But in the end, it's like it's only progress or success from there, which is a really cool business model. It's really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. And it's where I'm meant to be right now. That's all I know.
Yeah.
And it does, it feeds my soul, it feeds everything in my life.
That's amazing. Okay, well, so you have an incredible story. This is like the fulfillment that you get on a day to day basis is probably unbelievable. How one last question is how is the like the clients that you have? Who is it more so you're focused on like entrepreneurs only, somebody that's trapped in a 9 to 5? Is it CEOs? Is it like what's like the target client? I think I asked this before, but like what is the who is your niche audience that usually comes to you that you work with? Is it like a financial issue and they need to get over that, or like what's like some of like the repetitive stories that you've heard?
Yeah. Well, mindset, anybody can work on mindset, right? But it's
Yeah.
typically professionals.
Okay.
Typically professionals. I mean, I do have some students, but it's more in the professional setting that we work on. Entrepreneurs are naturally kind of gravitate towards me because I'm an
Yeah.
entrepreneur and I've been on commission for a while.
Hmm.
So I would say that's my typical client is an entrepreneur, somebody who's or wants to become an entrepreneur.
Yeah. And is this all organic reach? Like they all just come to you, or do you ever have like the outreach where you're like trying to be like, hey, this is what I do, this is my profile, or is it all kind of all the inbound leads are kind of organic?
Yeah, it's all inbound leads. I don't do any
Wow,
calling or reaching out anymore.
that's so cool.
Now, yeah, in the beginning, I did a little bit of that to like brokerages when I was in the real estate space, but now it's all just inbound and it's organic. And I believe that whoever like, and people say it all the time, they're like, it was an attraction thing.
Yeah.
Whenever you get on a discovery call, they're like, it was more attraction based. And I was like, that's it. Like,
Yeah.
because I've got my own coach, but it took me a while to find her. It
Yeah.
takes a little while to say, like, I know not everybody's going to mesh with me and my style,
Hmm.
but usually if you listen to my content and you just know.
Yeah. You
So
develop like that. You almost develop
yeah,
like a loyalty to you, you know?
yeah,
Interesting. That's cool. So, okay, so public speaking, you got the strategy packages, the one on one calls, the 7 to 8
mhm,
clients at a time. So you're really focused in on them. Is there a
mhm.
wait list? Do you have a wait list going on here?
Yeah. I'm currently full at the moment. I do have two openings coming up in the next month and a half,
Hmm.
but I'm opening group coaching. That's my new big baby. I was
Hmm.
doing group coaching on other platforms for other companies for a little while, and now it's time for me to do it for myself
Yeah.
because I just have so many people who really want the help and really want the support. So I'm
Hmm.
going to put some groups together and do some group programs.
Yeah.
That'll be the next space that people can find me at and find available.
Wow. So you kind of gave us like a little intro there, but I think it's time for you to tell us what your next move is to continue the success that you've already had over the last 3 years.
Yeah, the goal is again to like start launching that group coaching. I'll probably do a few groups and I'll
Hmm.
cap out at that, but there's only one of me.
Yeah.
So eventually, I would really like to start hiring more coaches that have other pieces that I don't offer, but can also offer the support and everything because I'm just so passionate about this work. And I do
Yeah.
think that everybody wants to evolve, but I don't believe that we have to do it alone or that we should,
Hmm.
because having that support and somebody else that will help see us from an unbiased standpoint is just so helpful.
Yeah.
And I want to start hiring other coaches and train them and also get them to help more people as well so we can start making this a thing, more empowerment, more encouragement, and
Yeah.
just more support.
Yeah, we need more people like you in this world. We need some motivators. How's
Thanks.
so tell us where we can find it all. Where's the podcast name? What was the podcast name?
Podcast is called Where Success Meets Fulfillment. My
Hmm.
website is lawplantcoaching.com, LAUPLANTE coaching. plante.com. And then my Instagram is the best way to reach me. That's where I usually have my conversations at lawplant, LAUPLANTE.
Amazing. And I'll make sure to have that at the end of the video so everybody can reach out, because I'm sure you'll be having a larger wait list than you already do right now after the conversation. You have an incredible story, and the motivation that I just got just speaking with you, and just to be able to unpack some of the mentality aspects of it all, I'm sure the inflow and the success that you'll have, throughout your career, you're gonna crush it as more than you already have. So, Lauren, I really do appreciate your time today. This was incredible, and I hope we can connect sometime soon while I'm down here.
Definitely. I appreciate you, Scott. Thanks again.